Welcome to the Island of the Arts. I'm Oliver Luke Delury, and in this episode we'll learn why so many creative people call Gabriola Island home. Let's go.
There's a light in the dark, shining bright on the Isle of the Arts. An open mind, an open heart, let love rule on the Isle of the Arts. Tap into your creative spark, express yourself on the Isle of the Arts. Laugh and play, that's a start. Welcome to the Island of the Arts.
It's a special place. It's an island. We're not connected to a highway, so your population is, it's like we're living in a village, you know, where it's so comfortable being here. I know all my neighbors. I love all my neighbors and things I don't take for granted. And the nature we're here too, you know. And you can go for a walk in the forest, and also there's a connection here with the First Nation. It's very special to me. You can walk into the forest and you see the petroglyph that you've run into, and it's the only thing that gives me a sense of history in Canada. It's really old, you know, it's 10,000, I don't know how old they are. And to live with this right in my backyard and all over, and the First Nation people are very special to me. And that I can share this, that I can absorb this. It's like, you know, it's like eating organic. It's a great place, a comfortable place for making art. You couldn't ask for more.
Gabriola has an interesting, peaceful appearance, and it also draws people, creative people, onto the island. I mean, I was attracted to this island right from the beginning. I thought, I want to live here, right? Even though I didn't know anyone, but I just felt it. And it's the peacefulness, it's the nature, and also the people that are here. And we're all kind of the same. We're all looking for this environment, I guess, and that's why so many people come here, so many creative people, writers, musicians, painters, artisans, all kinds of creative people. And that's where we end up, I guess.
There's something about this place. And as we were on the ferry, we were approaching the island and we got out of our vehicle, and I stood at the front of the ferry and I went, oh my God, I feel like I'm coming home. I get emotional just thinking about it. It was an amazing experience. And so I was determined that this is where we were going to come. And I had no idea that it was called the Isle of the Arts. I had no idea about the artistic community here. I hear that story from so many people about they felt like they were coming home. So I don't know, something magical here.
I know for certain that, you know, the amazing people that are drawn to Gabriola Island come for that, because there is such a strong, vital, beating heart of creativity and culture here, and it's such a great example for the world, because that core of creativity and culture also creates connection and compassion and understanding and community and belonging and a sense of tribe for people.
Other people would probably say the history of the place, it's in the bones, the age of the trees, the environment itself, you know, allows you time to think. You know, the island's very accessible to the ocean. I mean, so, you know, everywhere you go, there's little trails and you can go and sit and contemplate and enjoy, you know, life around you. So that's probably part of it, I'm sure. Yeah.
A really big magnet in times past was it was cheap. This is one of the last bastions of cheap real estate in the whole, like, south coast region. Look at places that are high artist populations, it's where it's cheap to live. You know, you're not going to write the great novel and write the great symphony if you don't have any time on your hands. If you're just, you know, if you're trying to scrambling to get by, right? Once a bunch of artists were here, other artists find out about the other artists. And I don't even know the first time I moved here if I even thought about it that much, but once I was here, it was just like, wow, this is amazing. I mean, and I find that support for my own creative ideas, which sometimes are a bit unusual, amazing. I mean, where I might have to go to some arts organization, you know, sort of hat in hand, what do you think this is? Oh, I don't know. And here it's just like, cool. Here are more ideas. Try, you know, how about this too? Really? I mean, it's just so, yeah, I feel incredibly supported by local arts organizations here and other artists and my own neighborhood here. We have an artist tour every year, and the number of people like actively creating art just right in this little neighborhood, it's amazing, it's fabulous.
I think that Gabriola has developed a culture of art, and it's really, really well supported by things like the Gabriola Arts Council, and it's a very active community. It's beautiful here. The weather is better than even across the pond in Nanaimo. Just a lot of things, a very conducive atmosphere for artists. And there's so much support from the community. Like when there's an art show or an artistic event, whether it's music or paintings or whatever it is, it's well supported. People turn out in the droves for any kind of artsy event.
First of all, we're away from the city. So, you know, we have multiple cities that are accessible for what we need from them. Being away from the city changes the vibe of what you're around. Being close to nature, I think, is really, really important. And I think that's one thing that comes with this island and the other Gulf Islands as well, is that you are closer to nature. It's harder to oversee it, to forget its presence in this kind of environment. And the other thing is the number of creative people that are here, you know, and that has grown over time. It's really wonderful to talk to other artists and other mediums and just, I think we all feed each other, feed our spirit and our souls, if I can put that term in, though I wouldn't define it. The human environment is very conducive to creative enterprise.
There are a lot of us here, so that means we're not as much outliers as in some other places. I think you see a fair amount of escape from the cities. I think there's a cost to that sometimes. As far as maybe relevance goes, sometimes when you're living in a place like this that is so beautiful, it's a little bit off of the intensity stream that is inimical to the quiet and the concentration that I think creativity asks.
There were a lot of artists, like hippies migrated here back in the 60s, and they became a community. They became and I think this is why on Gabriola, everyone wants to help everyone else. And I truly believe that it stems from there. And even before that, it was farmers. And farmers, you had to survive, you had to help each other. And because it's an island, it had this close-knit community. And when the artists started to pile in, they had no money and they're trying to build homes and, make a life. A lot of them are still here today. Yeah, they just started helping each other, and that spirit continues on to this day. People would rather hire somebody or pay somebody who's from Gabriola than go off island. I've been involved in different communities, the art community, dancing, healing arts, because I'm also a Feldenkrais practitioner. No matter where I went on Gabriola, what circle, it was always about trying to help people, about sharing things or knowledge. And I really think it's what makes Gabriola unique and why the arts thrive here, because artists tend to be open and caring. So at least the ones on Gabriola. We don't see each other as competition, we see each other as friends that we want to promote and help.
I heard this is the artist place to live, and when the studio tour started up again, 3 years in May, I've been here for 3 years, so I've got a little taste of it last year. The artists were just open and friendly and welcoming, which I mean, that's not heard of in other places, but here it's kind of like they just embraced me as a new sprout artist here on the island. So I mean, I don't know, they kind of collaborate together. There's some veteran artists who just have been here and know it and do their thing, and then there's some sprouting artists like myself here on the island, and they just accept you. So it's really nice. So I don't know where it comes from, but it's definitely here.
I think it's a combination of people being free enough to express themselves. Musicians, we have actors, we have sculptors, we have many people in the arts. I think the community supports them in coming to their festivals or coming to we used to have house concerts. I think the support of the community. And also if there's a fundraiser, and there's always a fundraiser, there's always auctions, it's the parent participation group or, the Commons or the clinic. We had a huge show for the clinic where artists donated some pretty major pieces of work, and that went toward that $1 million clinic that the community put up. So I think cooperation, and that is one thing that the community is really strong in.
Here, I think we should be the capital of Canada for artists. I don't know, there's so much nature. We're really lucky here. Even in my own home, I feel like there's more nature here than there is in other places in the island. So when we go away somewhere, when I come back, I'm like, I feel like we have every animal here. And like, why wouldn't you want to paint that? Or just the trees or the ocean or the sunsets. Like, we just have it all here. It's like an artist's dream.
It's community. I came from a city. We're small. We get to know one another a little bit, and yet we have space to enjoy the place. I have to admit, a lot of it was for the kayaking and the beaches. When we first came, we were enjoying kayaking, and then we started to explore Gabriola, and we said, there are many, many wonderful places to be on Gabriola, and we can get to the water and next to the water. And water's interesting, the idea of the sea, because sea is sort of like a breathing, a pulse and a heartbeat and breath, and just being by the water is pretty special.
Gabriola attracts not just creative people maybe, but people that are interested in life and interested in maybe learning different things. There just seems to be a fair amount of people on the island that want to be engaged in art. And definitely this island has a strong sense of community. Not just art, but just overall, a lot of people engaging in the community.
There's so much inspiration. Look where we live. There's so much to be inspired by here on Gabriola. The environment, the people, the activity, the tourists, dare I say the tourists, but yeah, the tourists. The history of this island, this island has such a colorful and interesting history. The people who lived here and gone or still live here, there's no end of inspiration. And the other artists, there's so many people working in different mediums, and just to see what other people are doing is inspiring. There's a lot of love going into a lot of art on this island.
And I think that all of these islands have very healing qualities to them, and each island has a specific one. So I do think that it's kind of a vortex. It's a vortex for people to heal and create at the same time. I feel that people aren't in for it so much for the recognition, but more for just doing what they love to do.
I call it a petri dish for creativity. There's something here. There's a very strong indigenous flavor here. This land was not our land, like all of North America, but there were populations of indigenous folks living here. There is a way that the scale of this place is so doable. It's so small but big enough to have enough diversity that you can actually develop things here. Like for me, for performing, for example, it's a nice small space. I can rent a very inexpensive little hall and put on a show. We have one newspaper. If I put my ad in that, I've covered it. It's just the scale of it is very human. It's also not distracting the same way that the city is. I love big cities, but they're very distracting. If you think about your eyes alone, the stuff going by them on my bike or on the bus, flooded with imagery. And here, if you look out the window, it might be a leaf twirling or some branch moving. But so it is a quieter place, and it allows us, it's a shelter as well. It's a very sheltering place. Geographically, energetically, quite a few of us have come with a real intention to live differently, to maybe reduce our footprint on the planet, you know, to live more in community. It's a very supportive community. It supports all of its art festivals and theater festivals. They come out always. It's a pretty great place for that.
Yeah, well, I came here to actually teach as a job at a boat building school. It used to be here. And since then, I moved into doing my own work. But at the same time, I didn't realize how much of a artist island it was. So that was kind of a bonus walking into that. I wasn't painting that much when I moved here. I was painting some, but wasn't commercially selling it or anything. With all the artists and all the activity going on and galleries that were pushing the arts on Gabriola as well, is that inspired me to want to start painting more. And I did, and I was doing it more for myself to begin with while I was working. And then it kind of took off from there. It seemed to be popular subjects that I was doing. And yeah, Gabriola is a good place for definitely being encouraged to keep going and striving. And there's all levels. There's experienced people who don't even sell on locally, they sell overseas, and then there's people who are beginners, amateurs, learning. That whole realm just makes it a great place. Yeah.
There's some sort of numinous quality here that drew me, but what I learned I was here for was for the mystery. I lived right against the forest, and I was very aware of the ancestors. Just about all of the time, the ancestors of the land, the beauty of nature, and the primordial sense with the wild nature. It has its own wildness and beauty, and so I would imagine that's part of what captures people. It just has that some kind of spirit that draws us.
In the next episode, we'll learn how artists interpret the creative spark of ideas, inspiration, and imagination. I'll see you here next time on the Island of the Arts.